Welcome to my Sitecore diary. I am Jitendra Ghanekar. Today we are going to discuss dependency injection basic concept. So what are the things which we are going to cover in today's video? First of all, we will see what is dependency injection. Then we will see what are the different types of DI, dependency injections, like constructor, then method DI, then property DI. Then we will see what is the pain point without DM. So why we should be using a DI, that problem statement we will see. Then we will see the example and the demo of the dependency injection. Then we will see what is DI container, example and demo of DI container. Then why to use DI. So these are the points which we are going to cover in today's video. Before starting, let me request you, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on a bell icon to get the latest update. And if you like the video, please make sure to click on the like button. Do share this video with your friends and colleagues, and do provide your feedback via the comment. So let's start today's topic. So let's see what is dependency injection. We call it as a DI in short form. So what is dependency injection? Dependency injection is a software design pattern that allows us to develop loosely coupled code. So this is a mechanism, or it's a design pattern which will help you to decouple your dependent classes, okay, or dependent code, and loosely couple those code. Okay, so it is a process of supplying the required resources to the code which require these resources. So you have a dependent class, then it is a process where you pass that dependency to the class, or you can say you inject the dependency. This is a process where you inject the dependency. Basically, you pass the required resource to the code. DI allow developers to build loosely coupled components, as we make our components dependent upon the interfaces rather than depending on the actual implementation. So how does it decouple the or loosely couple the components? In DI, what we does it, we use the interfaces. Okay, so it is use the interfaces, and you must be knowing what is interface, right? So there is no implementation in the interface. So what we are doing is we are making that depend on the interface, okay, where there is no concrete implementation, okay, rather than depending on the actual implementation. This is how they makes the loosely coupled component. When we see the example, you will understand this. It is, instead of using direct hard-coded instances, we inject the dependencies to the component and make them aware that they will need injected dependency to serve the purpose. Okay, so what we does it, we don't create the direct instance of a class. Okay, we do not create the direct instance of a class. Instead of that, we pass the dependency, we provide the required class, okay, and that that dependency we will inject it, okay, through this through that dependency the object will get created in the behind. Okay, it is not hard code instance which we are passing. DI allows enable us to better DI also enable us to better manage the future changes and other complexity in our software. As we loosely couple the component or loosely couple the classes, it will help us to manage the future changes and other complexity. The dependency injection pattern uses a builder object to initialize the object and provide the required dependencies to the object. Means it allows you to inject a dependency from the outside the class. So it is using the builder object mechanism to initialize the object. Okay. What are the different types of injection that we will see? So dependency injection can be done by three ways. First is a constructor. You can have a constructor. You can use the constructor to inject the dependency. Then you can use a method injection. That way you are using a method to inject the dependency. And we have a property which the property of, we can use a property, okay, to inject the dependency. So these are the three ways you can inject it. We will see the example of each. Okay, before that, let's see the difference between these three: constructor, method, and property. Constructor, the supplying the dependency through the class constructor when creating the instance of the class. As I said, the dependency is injected via the constructor. The injected component can be used anywhere within the class, as it is created in the constructor. It can be used anywhere within the class. Recommended to use when the injected dependencies you are using across the class method. So this we will be using when there is a across the class method classes we have the dependencies. It addresses the most common scenario where a class requires one or more dependencies. This is a widely used way to implement DI. So most of the cases we are going to use the constructor dependency. It is a widely used DI methodology. Then you have a method injection, DI. Inject the dependency into a single method and generally for the use of that method. So here, see, in the constructor, use the constructor to inject the dependency, whereas you will have in the method where you will have a specific method where you can inject the dependency. It could be useful where the whole class does not need the dependency, only one method having that dependency. It is not for the across the method you do not have any across the class you don't have the dependency on the specific methods. If you want to use it, then you can go for this. This is way rarely used, hardly you are using this. Property, let's say property DI. Inject the dependency into the single method and generally for the use of that method. So it is also same that we are inserting with the method, but it's actually a property. Okay. Recommended using when a class has optional dependencies or where the implementation may need to be swapped. Different logger implementation could be used in this way and does not require the creation of a new object or a modifying the existing one without changing the object state. It could work. Okay, so these are the three types of dependencies. Let's see each dependency with an example. So first of all, let's see how simple example which is without a DI. Okay, so we have this service A and we have a service B. Okay, both are having a method execute. Okay, where they are executing something. Okay, just ignore the logic written in the execute. You can say that there will be any logic in this. Okay, so this service A and service B is getting called in the consumer class. Okay, now for that, what we generally will do, we want to execute the service A method, execute method, service B execute method. So what we will do is generally that we will create a constructor, and that constructor, we will create an object, and that object will be mostly we will create in the constructor so that we can use it across the class. And then you have an executor. Okay, again, just ignore the execute logic. There might be some execute logic which you want to implement. So this consumer class is actually trying to consume the two services A and services B, and this is basically your client. Okay, consumer is basically your client class, and now that client class you want to use it any programmer, anywhere, any your website. That time what we will do is you will create a consumer class, right? You will create a you will create a consumer object here. Okay, this object you will create and you will call that execute method. Now you are not this class where you are implementing this or you are consuming the consumer class, there you are not aware that what is its dependency. Okay, it is depend. So if you see the consumer class is depend on service A and service B, so that is the dependency, but you are not passing any dependency here. If there is any issue, we will not be doing here. Okay, so this is how you implement your code without DI. Now let's see how it can be changed in the DI. Okay, where you use the dependency injection. Now it will be remain same service A, but if you see we have inherited one interface I service. Okay, here also service B you are inheriting interface. Okay, I service, and you will create iService interface, and it will have a execute method which will be the actual implementation will be written into the service classes. Okay, so this is how you will change the service class. Now how the client class will be will change. This is your consumer class. Here instead you are creating the service A object or service B object, you will pass the interface, sorry, not object, interface. So you are basically inserting the dependency that you are passing service iService here. Okay, and then you write your execute logic, okay, in the execute method. Now if you want to consume this class, like you want to use the consumer class, or you want to use this consumer class is basically your client class. So this is services, service A and service B are services, and consumer DIC is your client class. Now that client you want to use it in your application. Okay, so if you see here, I want to use the execute method. So what I am doing it, I am creating the service A object, okay, service A object, and I am injecting that dependency, or I am passing that object to the client, that is consumer DIC. Okay, so this is basically injecting the dependency. You are passing this value here, this object here, that is basically you are injecting your dependency to this consumer DIC class. Okay, then you are executing the execute method. Now you know that for this here where you are implementing it, you know that consumer DIC is depend on service A. Okay, so whenever you are writing a test also, you will understand that this is depend on service A. Okay, so similarly if you want to be service B get executed, you will have this kind of a implementation. So this is how you will use the DI in the simple way. Okay, and this methodology which I am currently showing you, the classes which I am showing you, it is basically the constructor DI. Why it is a constructor DI? Because the dependency injection which you are passing here, the dependency injection you are passing here is in the constructor. Okay, so dependency injection here you are passing it to the constructor. This is basically your constructor DI. So what does constructor DI? iService, you have a service A, you have a service B, and both our objects are both are referring to the client. Okay, so here you are passing iService to the client, okay, as a dependency. So this is how the constructor DI is created. Now let's see in VS how it works. Okay, so let's see the code in the Visual Studio for demo purpose. Okay, I'm showing the same code what you have seen in the PPT. Okay, so I have this is foundation.service A. I have created this service A here, and we have a executing service A. Okay, this is how we generally create without a DI. Okay, yeah, I have a service A, and then I have service B here. Okay, and then there is a consumer class which I have created, and that is here. Okay, so for creating, if you are the creating this consumer class or client class without DI, then it will look like something this, where in the constructor you will create the object of the service, and then you will have your own logic for the execute. Now if you want to use that, I have used that in this website. Okay, in this website, in the home controller, I have this index method where I've used it. So if you see here, consumer obj.execute. Now if I run this, or if you are writing a code or you're writing some test cases, it doesn't know that it is using service A and service B. Okay, so that is the reason why it has a dependency. Okay, but now if you want to use the dependency injection, then I have created this service ADIC1 here, a service class where I'm implementing this iService. Sorry. Here you have a execute method. This is the interface which we are using. Okay, so this is where it is implementing, and then you have a service B also here, which is also inheriting the I service, or it is implementing the interface. And now here, if you see the consumer class, the code is shortened. If you see this is my constructor. Okay, and I'm passing this I service interface to it and the execute method. So this is how you are injecting the dependency. Now when I want to use it in my application, this consumer class, this is how I am using it. Okay, so this is for the service B, this is for service A, where this service A object we are passing here, that is basically injecting the dependency to your client class or your consumer class here. Okay, this is how it is done. So this is the dependency injection. Now if I run this, let me run this with this. See, you have, this is from the dependency, and this is with without dependency, this with the dependencies. Okay, I mean this is with the DI and this is without DI. Okay, so this is how it is done. Okay, this was the this is the constructor dependency. Okay, let's see method DI. Now you have this interface here. Okay, and then you have the service A, service execute, its execute method, service B and its execute method. So this implementation remains same. Then you have a consumer class, that is your client class. See what's the change we have made. There is no constructor used here, but we are using a method called start, where you are giving the dependency and you are calling the execute method. Okay, so this is another method implementation, another kind of implementation, that is called a method DI, because you are using a method for the injecting the dependency. And if you want to utilize that, it will be like service A object. It's a similar thing what we are doing it in the constructor DI. Just one change there. There the constructor you are passing the service A object, but here you are passing it to the method. So both the places, if you see, we are passing it to the method. Okay, so this is called the method DI. Okay, so that is the difference. There you are using constructor, here you are using the method. Now let's say property DI. Again your service class is remains same. Okay, there is no changes here. Now let's see the client class. Okay, how it is changed. If you see, we are using a property here instead of method or a constructor. We are using a property and we are setting an object here. Okay, I service. Okay, that object we are setting it in the property, and we are executing the method. So how does the it get consumed? Okay, that client or a consumer class, here we are assigning the object or service A object. Okay, your object to the property here, dot service, client dot service. Okay, and then we are calling the execute method. This is how it is done. So these are the three different ways you can do it. One is the first we have seen the constructor, another is the method, and this is the property. Now let's see what is DI container. DI container, that is also known as the IOC container. So both are same, DI container or the IOC container. It is a framework for implementing automatic dependency injection very effectively. So for till now what we are seeing is manually we are trying to inject it, but there are some packages or like third-party tools which can help you to inject the dependencies. So that is called as a DI container. Okay, it manages the complete object creation, its lifetime, as well as also inject the dependencies into the classes. It's manage overall all the processes. So that's called as the DI container. Okay, so it has a 3 steps. First we register it, then resolve that, then you have a dispose, okay, in the DI container. So what does register does? The container should be registered or initiated as soon as it gets a specific type, and this is called as the register stage. Okay, so you will be registering the container. Resolve. The DI container must include some of the methods to resolve the specified type as soon as it identifies. The respective container creates an object of the specified type along with the injecting the required dependencies if any of them are required, and at last it returns the object. We'll see how it works, okay, with the example. Then you have a dispose. The DI container must be able to manage the lifetime of the dependent object accordingly. Most of the DI containers include different lifetime managers and their responsibility for managing an object's life cycle and disposing of it. So high level, what is happening is register, you are registering the container. Resolve is actually resolving that container, okay, and then dispose is actually disposing the container. Okay, so this is your life cycle of the container. Okay, we'll see the example. This is one of the NuGet package which you can use for a dependency injection is Castle Windsor. Okay, once you apply this NuGet package from the package manager, then how it will be implemented, I will show you. Okay, so first of all we create the interface as usual. Okay, then we will create the service class, or you can say here your class is my service class, where I am implementing the log message. Okay, now we will see how the Castle Windsor or a DI container is used. Okay, so this is my method where I am trying to use it, or this is my main class where I am trying to use this. So here what we are doing it, we are not using the client client class, but we are using the container here. Okay, so DI container. So this is where that first of all we create a DI container object. You see where container is done button. So that is creating your container object. So basically your client class. Okay. So in previous example we did it with manually, but here it is automatically you can use it by if you apply the NuGet package. And then there is a stage called a register. Okay. So what does it register is doing is it is telling that what type of a class you want to register. Okay, so here I am registering class A, which is using the interface I class. If you see here, this is the example where we are saying that we are using the interface I class for class A. Okay, so it means if you have a multiple classes, then you have to multiple registration here. Okay, then how it gets resolved here? You see here, container.resolve I class. Okay, so what basically it does it will create an object, root object of that class. Okay, and that with dependency which you have passed. Okay, and then we are executing the method root.log message, so it will give you, it will execute this of your method. Okay, console.read. So this is how your container works. Okay, so there are multiple DI container which you can use. Okay, some of the I have naming some of them here: Castle Windsor, Structure Map, Spring.net, AutoFact, Unity, Ninjax. So depending on your organization, you can check out each methodology. This is the sample how you've done it. For every container, it may vary something with that, but the concept will remain same. So let's see this DI in our Visual Studio also. Okay, so let's see the sample example of a DI container. So this is the console application which I have created, DI cons example. If I go to the manage NuGet package, okay, so Castle Windsor. If you see, I already installed it, 6.0.0 version. Okay, so now if I come back to my class, I have an interface created here, I class, which is using the log message, which has a log message as a method. Then that is getting implemented in the class A. Okay, so here I class is inherited and actual method is here. Now in my program class, okay, so here I am first of all I'm creating the container, visitor container, and I am using these two namespaces, castle.microkernel.registration and castle.visitor. Okay, and then in this here I am registering, okay, component for class I class. So this is my interface and this is implemented by class C. So I have only one class, so I have registered only one class. Then here how it gets resolved, okay, and then we are using the log example, that root.log message. So if I run this, let me just run this. See, example of a automated DI. So that is from the class A it is coming. So this is how DI container is implemented. I have just given a sample example of one of the DI container. The way whatever you have selected, the implementation might tweak little bit, but the concept will remain same. So this is how the DI container is getting implemented. Let's see why to use dependency injection, or what is the advantage of using dependency injection. Now you have an idea of what is dependency injection. I think this is easy to understand. Okay. So first point is quick fixes and easy new feature implementation due to the loose coupling. So main point in the DI is the loose coupling. So whatever the advantages which you will get from the loose coupling, that is the same advantage what we will explain for the dependency injection. Okay. So the quick fixes and easy new feature implementation due to the loose coupling. Because of the externally injected dependencies, developers can scale up the application without worrying about managing the dependencies manually for each functionality. We can scale up the application without worrying about managing the dependency. There is no need to manage the dependency because you are injecting the dependencies. You can use a mock database with dependency injection and test your application without affecting the actual database. Okay, so for testing it is very useful. Okay, you can use a mock database for with the dependency injection. Easy to implement, more modularized code, promote reusability without any code changes. Highly code maintainable. Okay, so it is highly maintainable code. So these are the few advantage, you can say advantages of the dependency injection, or these are the reason why you use the dependency injection. So we are done for today. If you like the video, please click on the like button and do share your feedback via the comment, and don't forget to share this video with your colleagues and friends. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Please click on a bell icon to get a latest update. Thank you. Thanks for watching.